This.
Live.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the Afternoon Gridiron with your guys, Steve Walls, the W Show 100.1 FM, and also Darren Smith, the Ship 810 WHB Sports Radio. It's the Afternoon Gridiron. Like I said, we're here as we are every day. Darren, how are you feeling today, man?
I'm feeling good. Obviously, I'm a little down on the inside for what we talked about after the presser. But look, all in all, man, I'm good. We are at a special moment in time where I don't know, Steve. I think either on something like this or our respective shows, we're just gonna have to have a look back and an open conversation about 2020 and the good that's come of it as well as the bad that has come of it. But all that being said, man, look, you know me, always ready to talk some football with you.
If you're just tuning in, again, it's the Afternoon Gridiron. We do this show every day following the Chiefs training camp press conference. Today, we talked to Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy and a couple of players. Darren, what was your initial thoughts when we talked to Bieniemy? Of course, you got in a couple questions. Myself got in questions as well.
I think you got the first question, didn't you?
I did. Just so since let's start there. I had a chance to ask Bieniemy, being a former player in the NFL, has he shared some of his experiences being a black athlete, also just about being a black man on and off the field, and also his thoughts of guys being able to use their platforms to bring awareness of social injustices in his country. So he gave an in-depth, thoughtful response as far as to not only my question, but to all the questions that I asked about social injustices and things of that nature. But I want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, first, let me say this. Eric Bieniemy, and I actually texted this to Brad G., the Chiefs Director of Communications, that it is going to be a very special day, but also a sad day for us personally when Eric Bieniemy gets that head coaching job. He seen the growth that we have seen him behind the microphone from when he was the running backs coach and then promoted to the offensive coordinator position is night and day. And so,
right.
So personally, for both of us, I know that seeing his growth behind the microphone and how he talks and just with the media, a lot of times media members get frustrated because they feel like he doesn't give them like the answer they're looking for. But to me, he's just giving that good football talk and really loving it. And really loving the man and what we get a chance to see on a day-to-day basis with Eric Bieniemy. That being said, look, I mean, he said some powerful stuff. One, as we've talked about, and as Coach Madison mentioned yesterday, we talked about because I also try to follow with them about bending the knee and whether or not they would do that. They are pretty. I mean, what he said in essence is, they are 120% in lockstep with whatever the players decide to do.
Mm-hmm.
So if the players take a knee, they are taking a knee, period, point blank. Now, whether or not the players boycott or walk off the field, we don't know to that extreme. But at least as it relates to demonstration or protesting, so to speak, they're with them on that, and they're in total solidarity. Obviously,
I was going to say if they do that, I think it'll be more or less of something that they won't put out there until it happens.
Well, and we'll get to that in just a little bit because I want to make sure we harken back to that, Steve, because that's a very good point as it relates to what we're talking about. Of course, his experience. Look, he has been. Now, there were situations that as a player, I don't think he's dealt with quite like this because we're in a totally different time. But of course, as he said, as a black man, playing this game, living in this country, he does have other worldly experiences, being much older than they are, that he's been able to share life stories and life situations with the players that they're able to learn from. And of course, he's always been one who who's been pretty forthright about his feelings about race and what takes place in society.
And he also hammered in the topic of voting, and he's impressed and excited about what Tyron and Patrick has done with voter registration. And I don't know if you asked the question about the stadium being open to being a voting site. He talked about that.
I know I asked that question to Mark Donovan, and somebody piggybacked off, take that question and posed it to Eric Bieniemy. But to your point, he did say that he thought that was an awesome thing, and it's funny, more and more that I hear about it. A colleague of mine at the station talked about it with Blair Kirkhoff on his show yesterday, and he thought that that was an excellent idea. And that was like the most newsworthy thing that came out of that, because one, nobody had been thinking about that. I know you and I, we've talked about it, along with Harold Kuntz with Fox 4, about the Chiefs and their voter registration stuff and what they plan on doing. And, for someone, who lives in the 5th district and the Chiefs located in the 3rd, that was something that was, I wanted to make sure that we don't forget and keep bringing to the forefront. And, Eric Bieniemy mentioning that he thought that it was awesome, because again, and this is what Kirkhoff said on the show yesterday, that it's one thing if you don't know, if you move or something, you don't know where you go vote, and you don't know the location. It's another one they say, yeah, you go vote at Arrowhead Stadium. Oh, really? Okay, I know where to go. I know how to get there. And the fact that they are opening up. They're trying to get it solidified to where they can have that, to where they can have the stadium as a polling location, and I hope it's just not for like one location. I hope it's for like multiple locations, which I believe it probably will be, only because of the last election they combined. You were pretty much allowed to go vote anywhere, and so if that's the case, I could really see a situation where you're going to have a lot of people going out to Arrowhead Stadium just to say that I voted at Arrowhead Stadium. But to that point, Eric Bieniemy was solidly behind that and thinks that that's a big deal.
And he also talked about Andy Reid, which Dave Tobe and Sam Madison, both assistant coaches, talked about Andy being the head of everything. Well, they both said that, but he talked about Clark Hunt, it going, from Clark Hunt down to Chiefs president Mark Donovan, then, following in line with Andy Reid. And Andy allows players to express themselves and have their own platform. And you know what? I said this the other day, I commend Andy Reid for giving players the ability to have that platform, because you don't see that everywhere. You see a lot of players that, and Frank said it today, a lot of times players get to the point where it's like, maybe I shouldn't say this because I don't want any, repercussions from something that I may say from ownership. Whether it's getting a contract, whether it's getting a job or anything of that nature. So what are your thoughts on that?
And I'll say this, and let's give Andy Reid credit, because you got to remember, even when this whole thing with Colin Kaepernick went down 4 years ago, we had Marcus Peters on the team, and Peters was someone that, was adamant in his protest. A couple of games, Travis Kelce took a knee alongside him, but Marcus took a knee, raised a fist, and Andy, being on the opposite when it comes to the political side of the aisle, was someone who still supported him. He didn't, he allowed his players even then 4 years ago to express themselves in the manner in which they wanted to, and he didn't blink an eye. And so I said it to say that it's not new, and that while credit is given, he has done this and has been supportive of this even in the past. But I say all that to say that no, the leadership that you get from Andy Reid on a social issue, and also remember, he came from Philadelphia, so they are much more
city of brotherly love.
Yeah, and so look, you literally get both liberal and conservatism and racial and everything all in that city of brotherly love, racial, that melting pot up there. So he's been able to deal with the whole mix of personalities and ideas and things of that nature. And then you come to Kansas City again. Kansas City is ran democratically by a mayor, but culturally it's more of a conservative type city. And so, shouts out to him, man. And so they take their cue. And you hear it all the time, though, Steve, that it's all about Andy. It's all about Andy. It's all about Andy. and what he does. And but again, Andy gets it. He
Mm-hmm.
gets it. And so I think, and I don't know, it might have been a question that I might have asked him. Yeah, I think it was maybe early this week or last week about designing plays and stuff. And you say it don't look like he's going to retire anytime soon. I mean, when you hear that, and we kind of saw it after the Super Bowl win, like, man, Andy's like, I could get used to this. Got this quarterback. I get used to this. Now that you see it, and because he gets it, man. I mean, it's one of those things where it's man, I can really see him really being there for the long haul of Patrick's career, at least for the next 10 years. And then I mean, when you got a coach that gets it and is supportive of it, why would you not do it?
Had a chance to talk to Frank Clark as well. When it just I know my question to Frank, and a lot of it to all the players, just how Frank talked about. Let's back up real quick. Frank talked about, him having to explain what's going on in this country to his kids, and that's tough. That's what he said. He said, it's tough for me having to go and explain the stuff that my kids are seeing on TV, seeing on social media, all that stuff. So I asked him the question, just how is he doing? Because he said it's tough about him having to explain that. And he's also had some stomach issues that he's had to worry about, which is why he sat out of training camp for a few days. He also has to worry about COVID. COVID's still a thing that's still out there. And also the racial issues that's going on a daily basis, and also in Kenosha, Wisconsin, more recently, so on top of that, he still has to worry about training camp, going out there and performing at the best of his ability, because he is one of the highest paid, if not the highest paid player coming into the 2020 season. So with all that being said, just how hard is it as a Black athlete to be able to focus on what he needs to focus on the field? Yeah. So, and he went into depth, and he put it quite frank, control what I can control. That being said, just trying to juggle all this stuff and put it together. And the biggest thing right now is that he has a contract to fulfill, and they expect him to play at his highest ability, which is worth, what he's getting paid this season.
What I took from Frank, and there's a lot to unpack with all that you said, because I know I got a question in about the stomach issue, because I'm like, bruh, you having some bad bubble guts. And he actually, it's funny, he actually went into great detail about that, actually a lot more detail than I had expected. I know credit given. Pete Sweeney asked the question first, which was one of my questions, but since he didn't answer it, I got a chance to follow up. I did not know that it's a lot of acid. He has a lot of acid issues. And one of the things that he talked about was the fact that, if he's dehydrated, he has to go to the hospital to get IVs and stuff. So I didn't know it was to that extent on how bad his stomach situation, because I think he said he had surgery either in high school or in college when that stomach situation first started to happen. Biggest thing I take away from him is that he's a guy of no excuses. Because as you mentioned, he talked about the team, even though it lost to New England, it was still playing at a high level offensively. Where the season they would start off on a low on the defensive end. Now I take issue with that because, again, the first game I think they won, wasn't it like they won 41-10, or was the game closer? I can't remember. I know you and I were in Jacksonville. I just can't remember what the final. So I know they scored 40-some points because Tyree got injured in that game. But I just don't remember. I don't remember the defense getting off bad. But of course, that's what he said, that the defense will start off slow compared to the offense. Because I know the next game we were in Oakland and they won 28-10. So I think they might have started off slow, so to speak, without making big plays. But I don't want to say that like the team was just getting blasted on the scoreboard early on. I think the offense has some issues as well. Obviously, look, man, you asked a tough question about being a Black man in this country right now, and again, he didn't hold any punches, but I still think that I still think Frank left a lot out there that he probably could have talked about, because I do believe, I don't know if it was you or someone else that asked him about the idea of September 10th. And one of the things that I was going to mention when I asked him the question was, you're not going to reveal your hand this early in the ball game on what you're
Right.
going to do, 13 days from now. You just don't do that. It's not smart, and then it takes everything out, takes all the surprise and awareness out of it. I love his answers. They have a lot to deal with, and they have a lot of pressure on themselves as professional athletes because we in the community expect them to be our voices for us because we have a platform to a smaller extent than what they do, but they have, let's just say, millions more followers, and they have greater access to the media than we do,
Right.
by addressing us, and then the different coverages that they're able to do. So
when they say something is going to be dissected
exactly,
thousands of ways. So.
Exactly. And so he understands the responsibility that comes from that. I know I got a question into Frank regarding and it was actually in real time. I was looking at the comments. Chiefs fans always complain about, well, this isn't a political platform and stick to football, blah, 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 blah. But I'm like, if somebody asks the president a question about the players kneeling, he's not sticking to politics. He's sticking his nose into sports. And so, if your president is calling or referring to players such as Patrick and others as SOBs, that's, they're going to feel some kind of way. They're going to say something. And like I asked them regarding about the shut up and dribble thing, look, man, they have opinions, just like everybody has an opinion when they decide to make a comment or type up or make a post or something. Well, the players have that same thing. And, fans who are on the other side, they only feel that way if their particular player that they're quote unquote cheering for says something that goes against what their beliefs are. And
right.
So, and as I asked them, I said, well, look, everybody wants to cheer you on when you make that sack, when you win a Super Bowl, but they don't want you speaking up about issues that you care about or whatever. They just want you to shut up and dribble or shut up and run the football. What are your thoughts on that? And of course, he did go into detail about that. So I'd love to know what you thought about his answer.
Just piggyback on what you said, man. I loved what he had to say. Just, control what you can control. A lot of people just they want to give their opinions, but not know to the full extent of how their opinion is going to affect other people, right? So these players all have their various opinions, but they all have feelings. They're human beings as well. And so when you are dissecting what they're saying, just because they have a larger platform or just because they don't agree with what you believe in, you have no right to say, oh, well, I'm not watching football. Oh, well, that guy is just. You, of course, you're entitled to your opinion. However, it's not fair. Yeah, just put it that way.
And one other thing before we move on, nobody seemed to have any problem when when Frank got out of his land of football and paid for that funeral of the 4-year-old who got killed here in Kansas City. So everybody wanted, oh, it's a great guy. That's my guy. Well,
no, not even that. But nobody had an issue when Frank Clark got a sack on Jimmy Garoppolo to help win the Super Bowl, right?
Right.
Everyone was there cheering. Oh, we're winning first time in 50 years, So keep the same type of energy that you have when all that stuff is going on. You were at the parade, just as I was, and you saw these thousands of Kansas Cityans that were excited to cheer on this team because they have done what they've been wanting them to do for 50 years. And
hold on. In my defense, you was I was sitting at home watching on because it was cold. It was cold coming before we got back to Miami.
Well, yeah, that too. Yes. But you still saw, and there were still thousands of other people who were at home just like you and were watching and cheering it on and had their select beverage and whatever that case may be. So it is what it is. But we also had a chance to talk to Rashad Fenton, who's the defensive back for this team. He talked about, filling in for Bashaud Breeland, who's going to be suspended for the first 4 games of the season. And he also talked about how important it is for him to have a bigger role on special teams, a little bit bigger than he had last season. And he said special teams it's special. He's a special individual if he's on special teams. and it just gets him going. It gets his juices flowing when he's able to start the game off and also end the game playing special teams.
Yeah, no. Look, I like what he was talking. I actually, I want to get a question in, but they let. I guess I was the third person, and Brad actually texted me like, "Hey, Dan, I'm sorry. I knew time thing because I think the question I was going to ask him was about, you're a rookie last year. Yeah, you get that Super Bowl ring, you come in now, but my question is, of course, that I would have asked is that when you're a defensive back and looking at what he has to do in practice and even filling in from Brashad, how to me now this is just my opinion and you can let me know what you think. If I have to go up against Sammy, Tyreek, McCall every single day, they in turn just by their talent alone and Pro Bowl whatever. That should in turn really make me almost an Pro Bowl type defender because because me going up against him every day should be making me better as a player.
Mm-hmm.
And if not, my question would be why. And so that would have been the question I would have posed and would have loved to have got his response, but maybe I'll get Tyron or somebody else to answer that or Travarius in the future. But no, man, I like what he said. He has his head on right. I know he was also asked a couple of social justice questions, and he gets it, man. Even as a young guy, he gets it. He's tired of seeing it. Obviously, he played for the University of South Carolina, and he mentioned that when he played there. The state capitol had a Confederate flag on the flag at that time. So, so he knows what it's like to have to try to fight for justice and stuff like that. So, good kid all the way around, man. And looking forward to see what he's able to do as it relates to, filling in for Brashad Breeland these next 4 weeks.
I also talked to Tommy Townsend, last but not least. He talked about, being excited to get going for his first season in the NFL. It was an unexpected, start to his
training
first
yeah.
in the NFL. He didn't expect it to go as though, as it is with the COVID situation. But he said he's learning from his teammates. And actually he has to fill big shoes. He has big shoes to fill with punter Dustin Colquitt, who of course was released by the team in the offseason. But yeah, he has huge shoes to fill. Dustin has a tenure here that is, I think he played the most games in a Chiefs uniform than anybody in Chiefs history. So filling those shoes, and Dustin wasn't no slouch either. He was good at what he did. It set a lot of records with this team. So, just being able to fill those shoes and being a young guy and coming on to a Super Bowl winning team, is a huge deal for him.
Well, and not only that, obviously Dave Toub thought a lot of him, one during the combine, and then also enough for them to draft him, and then obviously to release Dustin Colquitt. So he's actually going to have a lot more pressure on him than he probably thinks about, because Dustin was good with the field positions. I mean, look, hey, kickers sometimes generally they go underneath the radar, except for when they miss a kick.
Right.
So.
Right.
Harrison Butker and Colquitt, these last couple years, they were awesome. They were awesome for this Kansas City Chiefs team, and they played vital roles in the team's success. And so, I'm looking forward to seeing what he's able to do, and see what kind of, because again, we're not out there, so we don't get a chance to see what type of positioning he's able to put the ball and spin the stuff on the ball when he kicks it. So I'm definitely looking forward to see how he handles everything at this level.
We appreciate everybody that's been watching us today. As we do every day, we thank you for watching the Afternoon Gridiron with myself, Steve Walls, and also Darren Smith. Tomorrow, if you're one of those lucky fans, one of the 5,000 up to 5,000 fans that are able to go out and watch the Chiefs training camp practice at Arrowhead, they'll also be doing a special ceremony of raising the Super Bowl flag in Arrowhead Stadium. We won't get to be there just because of COVID-19 and just the restrictions that they have on media, but you guys will get to be there. Darren, you know anybody that's going out there tomorrow?
Nah, but I was sitting there thinking like when we were talking with the chief director, I forgot to even ask like how quickly are they going to have the video up, the flag waving, for us to get, because I know that they said that they'll Dropbox it, but I didn't think of it till just now because I was going to ask that question, but I just forgot it, and now that when you brought up, it just reminded me of it. So hate that.
We'll also get to hear from Chiefs head coach Andy Reid and star quarterback Patrick Mahomes. So until tomorrow, we are out of here.